Mm, that's good. Good afternoon, world. It is moments past noon in Waxahachie, Texas, deep in the heart of the Lone Star State. We're broadcasting live from our palatial studios, if I might say, especially to people who are new to our show. Second story studio in the shadows of the Ellis County Courthouse. And today is the 8th of May, and it's the 60th episode of Grit and Good News, and it's the first one which will now go on to the great Substack, where we will be doing our newsletter. And I am your co-host, Jeffrey Michael Lynch. Here's our producer, Sam the Man, getting it done for us. And my other co-host, partner in crime, friend, buddy, and you love him. I know you love him, Scott Brooks.
Thank you, brother. Welcome back to I was going to say to Texas, but you didn't. Well, you left Texas last week, but you came back
Yes,
and then you went to San Antonio. So,
yes.
for those of you watching, those of you that are in Texas and know where Waxahachie is, we're 30 minutes south of Dallas. So Jeff went down to San Antonio for the past several days. You can tell it in his tan, and had a good time, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So, it's interesting.
Lived there when I was a little boy.
This is off the beaten path, but Texas. I saw something the other day that said it takes you longer to go from Dallas to El Paso than from someplace you can go to California from Texas. So the point is that Texas is such a big state, such a wide state.
Yeah, and,
But you,
and if you take an atlas or a map and you measure the distance across or from tip to top, top to toe,
yeah,
and then you take that same thing and you roll it and you go up north,
can you
you're,
get to Minnesota?
yeah, you,
Yeah,
you can get to Chicago.
yeah,
You go east and west, you're at the Atlantic Ocean and you're just shy of the
yeah.
Pacific.
It's crazy. James says Texas is huge. Huge. You
Bigger
mean
than life
huge?
itself.
Yes. Anyway, thank you for being here. We have taken the last week off because we had travel, and Jeff had to be at a funeral in Minnesota. And then on Tuesday, I was gonna, Sammy and I were gonna go without Jeff because Jeff was on vacation. But then we had I mean, it was a torrential
I stirred up that
downpour.
storm so you wouldn't have to do it
Well, let me
alone.
tell you, it came down, and so we didn't have a show on Tuesday because of an outage here at the studio. So here we are. This is as Jeff said, the 60th show. We like to take the number. Jeff goes and finds what great athletes wore number 60. So he's going to do that in just a second. But this is also our first show that those on our new platform, Substack.com. Uh, when you go there and search for Great and Good News, you will be able to see this show. This is our first show on that platform. So for those of you that are actually watching a recording of this on Substack under Great and Good News, we are happy to have you here. We are just two. We like to think of ourselves as good guys. We're
Regular
caring.
guys, regular guys.
Yeah, regular guys, authentic. What you see is what you get. We don't sit around and attack people. We don't sit around and gossip about people. We like to help people understand what's going on in the world. We go a little deeper with, like in a few minutes, we're going to talk about some tariffs and income taxes and stuff. We don't want to bore anybody, so we know when to shut up. And if we don't, we have a
Look at this
new,
breaking news. White
yeah, white
smoke.
smoke. So they're going to be announcing the new pope this afternoon. But when we go off uh, on a tangent, we just use this sign, and you can see who it's pointed at. So it's normally going to go that way, but I could
As
do it on
if.
myself too. So anyway, we
Let's
don't
get
like
let's
to
keep it where we
we
can
don't like to. No,
both
I got it
grab it.
over here. It's over
Oh,
here
oh,
just
I
fine.
see. Okay, I see.
But anyway, we like to just say if we're going to tell you why Trump's great, then we want to give you reasons. We want to try to help you understand. If we think someone's in the wrong, we want to help you understand. We just don't want to be another podcast where people just running their mouth about stuff and without any substance. So that all said, thank you for being here. We do this show live Tuesdays and Thursdays from noon to 1 Central Standard Time. Waxahachie means Buffalo Creek, and we're again 30 minutes south of Dallas. So on Substack, under Getting Good News, we'll use more Dallas lingo with things because people are more associated with Dallas than Waxahachie. That said, number 60.
Number 60. It's a little bit scarce, but I got four good ones. Chuck Bednarik
Bednarik.
with the
Yeah,
Eagles.
yeah.
Or 60 is both a center and a linebacker.
Oh, a
He
two-way
just
guy.
liked to be two-way in the middle of things.
Sammy grabbed his microphone. Why do you have
I
your
did my
microphone?
research. Otto Graham,
How
Oh,
did
is
that
he
was
on
my
there?
next one. Yeah.
quarterback for the Browns.
Exactly.
Quarterback
Way back, and then
wearing number
he
60.
wore 60 for the first 2 seasons, and then switched to 14.
There you go. We
There
got
you
a
go.
few switches in here. We have
And look at Sammy stealing your thunder.
That's okay. The great, he didn't think I'd find that. Josie Theodore, Montreal Canadiens goaltender, started in 1995, played 16 years. He won the Vezina, which is for
The best goalie, right? MVP of goalies.
MVP of goalies.
Yeah, best goalie in the league.
Um,
Or is that the MVP for the whole thing?
no, that's for the season.
Just no. I mean, for just goalies or for the whole
No,
all
all
positions?
positions.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. It is for the best goalie because
Okay,
the Hart
is
is
the
MVP
MVP?
for the
Yeah,
league, and he won both of those. And he won the greatness of the Bill Masterton Award, which we talked about the other
yeah.
day when I was wearing my 29 Masterton for used to be for perseverance. And then Mark Stone, who's with the
He's
Avalanche, and he
yeah. I don't like
started at
him.
60. He went to 16, and then he went to
At
61,
61.
and he's the one that took out Haskinen on the
Yeah.
knee, and
I
we're
don't
still
like
not without him.
I don't like Mark Stone. So we
No, I
got
know.
something for him if they come to Dallas.
So that's what we got.
So yeah, is that it?
That's it.
All right. On the update, we got the Stars are in the second round of the playoffs. Had an incredible comeback game. I watched the third period of the game the other night again because I just starting at the 12-minute mark to go in the third period. We're down 2-0 after having given up a penalty. You know, we were on a they had a advantage 5-man for whatever they call that. What are they?
Power play.
Yeah, power play. And they scored. It really took the air out of our sails,
Yeah.
and then we come back, given the performance by Raskinen. No, Rantanen. Is it Rantanen?
Mikko
Mikko
Rantanen. Yeah,
Rantanen. Yeah, there are a lot of
and he is the man.
those names that I can't keep straight. But that was an incredible performance. And then last night, the Dallas Stars beat their second round opponent, which is the Winnipeg Jets, and Mikko had another hat trick.
Right.
That 2 hat tricks in 2 straight games, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And sorry about that saying I was wrong. It is Vegas that Stone played for,
Yeah. Who'd you think it was?
not Colorado.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
And James, yes, we are hearing the same thing you are. We talk about these things whenever we get more details. So on our next show, we'll have some more information on these Jets and of course on the new Pope.
So the
Thank
quick
you, though.
in the playoff summary is that Winnipeg won in 7 in the first round, Dallas won in 7, Vegas won in 6, Edmonton in 6. Over on the east side, Toronto. Thank you very much.
Yeah, look at Jeff. Look at him, Chuck.
In
Chuck says you got
6.
your hat backwards.
I'll take it back again.
No. It looks cool that way. You look like Tyrus on
It's a little
the
it's a
Gutfeld
little
show.
slenderizing, I think, too.
Yeah, okay. Go with that.
Florida in 5, Washington in 5, and Carolina in 5. And now our series are Dallas is up 1-0 over Winnipeg.
Yep.
Edmonton over Vegas 1-0. Toronto, thank you very much, up
Up
2-0.
2-0.
And Carolina up 1-0 over Washington.
Yeah.
Can we have a real quick geography quiz? Here's the greatness of Toronto. First of all, when we're watching football and we go to a replay, where do we go to? New York.
Yeah.
When we're watching hockey, we go to a replay. Toronto. That's where
Right.
the league headquarters are.
Yeah.
People don't really realize where Toronto is located. It's right next to Windsor, which is actually south of Detroit. And if you look at my handy dandy atlas that I brought here,
Yeah.
do you know how many states have all or part of their state that Toronto is
Within
is south?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at Canada and you say, okay, in this case, Detroit is more north than I think where Winnipeg plays. So the way that if you look at the map, the way that the it falls, the state lines, I believe it may be that one or a different one, but there are
that is correct.
Yeah, so Detroit is more north than
No, I'm sorry. It's but most of Minnesota south.
Okay, so but there I think what you were saying is that Toronto's not that far from Buffalo.
Right.
And so that's not
Parts
state
of
line, country
Michigan,
line. Yeah.
New York, in all of New England,
Yeah,
and then Wisconsin,
right.
Minnesota, both Dakotas, um, Montana, section of Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, and
Yeah.
darn near California.
It is Toronto is a wonderful city. It's kind of the clean New York City.
That's a
I've
good
been there
call.
many times. One of the most exciting events I've ever seen in sports was seeing the Toronto Raptors back when Vince, what's his last name, Sammy? Carter played for them. Was an incredible experience in that same Rogers Center where the Maple Leafs play. That was an exciting event. But
Hmm.
I love Toronto, and people say to people, "Tell me about Buffalo." Oh man, it's so cold in Buffalo, and the Rust Belt and that sort of thing. Well, tell me about Toronto. Oh, great city, cosmopolitan. On the go, and yet it's a little bit farther north than Buffalo, but very close to one another.
Right.
It totally same part of the geographic world, but they're worlds apart in terms of what people think of those two cities. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And I love everything about Canada and our fine president who overreaches so many things. He's got this all confused because here's the deal. We would love to have Canada be part of the United States, but not as a 51st state. Bring in all the provinces and make them states and make this North America. Oh my God. What do we have
well,
then?
here's the deal. You may think Trump does what you said he does, and he does, but
Thank
he's
you.
got you thinking about it, just like he has the rest of the world thinking about it. It's like the
But
thing about
but I'm thinking right about it and he's thinking confused about it.
Yeah, well, okay. It's like Trump saying, I may run for a third time. You never know. And he knows good and well he can't do that, but he's got the world talking about. He's got the left really on tilt talking about it. It cracks me up.
And didn't take
Uh,
much to tilt them.
yeah, Canada is beautiful going west. Matter of fact, I think there's a train you can take from east to west, west to east, across the country there. It's a beautiful country. So there you have. I think that's all the updates we wanted to give.
That's it.
The Pope, we will have a new Pope. It may be announced as we're on the show. There are things going on over in the Middle East,
And the
and
further tensions on the Pakistan.
yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
So we'll have a bit more on that on Thursday. Today we're going to talk about a number of things. A bit of the genesis of it is our local changes here at the company. We run the Waxahachie Sun Media Company, which is really made up of, gosh, 4 or 5 platforms. One of which is our digital reach with our websites. We have an e-edition of the newspaper. We have the print edition of the newspaper. We have Grit and Good News, which is our live podcast. We have uh, our content that we'll be putting out. We have some really unique platforms that we use. We have decided as of yesterday, no, yeah, yesterday, all these changes went into play, so that now we are a digital first company. And with respect to local folks, we are the idea of having an op-ed page in a newspaper has been around since newspapers have been around.
Right.
And for us, that's going to remain the same. I did think about taking it out, but I just, after talking with some people that I really rely on and listen to, decided to keep the op-ed page in the Sun's local efforts, because the communities everywhere, big or small, need to have a place where people can go to express opinions. And you look at politicians, they are wanting endorsements every election,
Right.
and that's where
But you're
you would,
taking out the focus.
yeah,
So many of your columns are national
right,
interest,
yeah.
and that's going away. You're
Yeah,
going to
so
local only.
yesterday's
Yeah.
changes include on the local side, we have a new writer, a new column pen name called Nick Dagote. I am a huge Alabama Crimson Tide football fan, so yeah, you can see there. Is that Uncle Nick on the? Oh no, that's the Texas. My other books below here are about Alabama, but I'm a huge Alabama fan. Yeah, so there you see. Wait a minute, there he is, Big Al right there.
And there's the goat.
And then maybe some hats up there that have Bama on it. I don't know, but so our new pen name is Nick the Goat, and then we have content that will be strictly about Waxahachie. Over the past 3 months, our content has been exclusively national, and when I say our content, my columns, we do a lot. Most of the show here is about national issues. And those two things, primarily the column, have gone viral for 3 months and have reached millions of people. And so we have said we can't stop that.
Right.
Uh, and yet we've got to be able to serve two masters, as it were, which isn't always easy. We want to focus on local folks with local content. We want to continue providing this content nationally that people seem to like. And it's the like part of it that we're really focused on because, again, whether it's me or Jeff, or even Sammy in this case, when Sammy weighs in, we don't, as I said at the beginning of the show, we don't like to just throw stuff out. Everybody has a podcast anymore, and you turn one on, and all you hear is garbage about just personal attacks, professional attacks, and sometimes that's warranted. But our interest is to say, okay, we can sit here and say tariffs are good or tariffs are bad. Well, if you think tariffs are bad, tell me why they're bad. Or let us tell you why we think they're bad. In this case, I think they're great. And we're going to tell you why I'm going to tell you why I think it's great. That's what we try to do here. And we're going to continue to do that approach, but whether it be verbal, oral, written, uh, video, whatever, we're going to tell you why we believe and think the way we believe it, and then allow you to decide whether or not you agree or disagree. We don't expect you to believe what we believe or stand for what we stand for, but we will give you compelling reasons to consider our position. And Jeff and I don't always agree.
No.
That's for sure. That's why we are in what we in our minds a quality team here. So uh, that said, the 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 Grit and Good News brand, which is now what's 60 divided by 230.
Yes, sir.
I can even figure that out.
Thank you.
So
30
we've been
weeks.
30 weeks, so a little over half a year. We went, must be what, back in, when did we go live? August,
Early September.
September,
Yeah.
October. Yeah. So the show is not quite a year old, but this show will be on Substack. Our columns and our content will be on Substack. Jeff is an extraordinary poet. We're trying something new here where Jeff will be writing opinion poems, which I don't think you can find anywhere else in the country.
No.
So it will be Jeff's opinion about the same topic that I'm writing on, but all Jeff knows about what I'm writing on is the topic, the topic. He doesn't know anything I'm saying, what I'm opining, what my positions are, and then he's going to write a poem about the same topic from your point of view.
And the first
So,
poem has been done, and it will go in the first
yeah,
episode of this that you will be able to see on Monday,
right.
correct?
So on Monday,
If you buy a
yeah. So
subscription.
you'll go to Substack, search Grit and Good News, hit subscribe. After following, you have to create an account. It's not very hard. Uh, and then it's $5 a month, less than a burger. You can get all this content. We're working our butts off to provide it. So you'll get you'll get content on Monday, and then new content on Friday every week. So you'll be able to see how we view various topics, and again,
And you'll always get
why
a
we believe.
poem free from me towards the end of our show.
Say again? Oh yeah,
You'll
yeah,
always,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, and on this show, Jeff does a poem that's just whatever he chooses to do.
Generally out of one of my books.
Yeah. So there you have it. In our column topic on Monday is really, well, it's not. I mean, it's all about these rogue, in my opinion, rogue judges in America who are usurping the authority of the president of the United
I
States.
love the term usurping.
It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Some Nimrod judge sitting in Wyoming should not ever, ever, under any circumstance, federal district, I don't care what it is, decide what our immigration policies are, what our policies are about the environment, about crime, about anything, ever. And yet we got them popping up like whack-a-mole. I'm going to whack a judge telling Trump what he can or can't do. It's absurd.
You know, in doing the show, it helps educate me because when I research a topic, you know, our judicial system on the federal level is that the districts hear the first case.
Yeah.
The appeals court or the appellate, which is basically appeals, you didn't like what happened at district, you go and you appeal it. And then the
Yeah.
Supreme is the law of the land.
Right.
But nowhere in that does it say that it was designed to set laws. It's to hear cases
Right.
and make a ruling about a case. But if you make a ruling about a case in whatever state it is,
Yeah.
it's a ruling about a state in that case. And nobody ever said that that was the law of the land. How,
Yeah.
how did this ever
I don't know how
happen?
it
I
got
don't know.
here. You know, it's amazing. I'm telling, in some cases I'm preaching to the choir, maybe in most cases I'm preaching to the choir here, but you know, since Trump's been in office, which is now 114 days, I don't know, whatever it is, uh, the number of these whack-a-mole judges that have popped up to make rulings has been incredible. Yet during there might have been one or two, maybe five, I don't know, but not many more than that during the whole Biden 4 years where a judge said, wait a minute, you can't allow millions of people come into the country. Yet we're trying to send these thugs back, and these judges are saying, no, you can't do that. So we're writing about that next week on Monday. So we hope you'll appreciate that. All right. So I think that's all we wanted to say about that topic. Last week I wrote a column called Taxes and Tariffs. That wasn't the name of it, but that's essentially what it was about. The title also said, no more should any American ever pay a single cent in income tax. I'm telling you, it's it's it, it's wrong. It's it. These people who walk around and say taxation, theft by taxation, which is true. The message of that gets lost because of the way these people behave.
Yeah, what's
And
the one about no taxation without
yeah,
representation?
so it's a mess. And so here I sit in Dallas and say, Waxahachie, and say, wait a minute, why are we paying? We find all this waste and abuse. We have tariffs that are coming back. Why are we continuing to pay income tax? In some cases, 30 or 40% of and higher for people that make more money, pay to the federal government who wouldn't know how to draw a straight line if you showed them. And and so we have all this money going to the federal government, and it's all getting screwed up. It's got to stop. And I think Trump, of the many things that people love Trump for, and the many things that people hate about Trump, one that we should all be able to agree on is that the man is going to address the income tax issue via tariffs, in my opinion.
You know, the IRS was started by what president?
That would have been Franklin D. Roosevelt, if I recall. Was
Well,
it earlier?
that would have been the man with the beard, the tall man with the beard.
Yeah,
Abraham
Abraham
Lincoln in
Lincoln.
1862 started the IRS to take care of the tariffs and other related things,
Yeah.
and the surcharges on whiskey and whatnot. But it wasn't until 1913 that the IRS began taking federal income tax.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty short in the scheme of our country's life,
it
really.
is. I mean, in our show prep, which we put a lot of effort into, particularly on, we do 2 shows a week, so we have
Yeah.
between Tuesday afternoon and Thursday to prep for our Thursday show. We have between Thursday afternoon and Monday to prep for our Tuesday show. So we do a lot of prep. So I went back and I said, you know what, if I'm going to talk about tariffs, this is kind of obvious, so just call me Captain Obvious, but I ought to know what I'm talking about. So I went back and I looked at a variety of sources about tariffs, and I came across one that says, or it's titled "A Brief History of the Constitution and Tariffs." Uh, Tariffs, just as a basic, point of knowledge, and this explains it well, are a form of taxes placed by the federal government on imported goods and services until a certain date. And from the outset, the president did not have the direct power to set or impose tariffs on nations that traded with the United States way back when, unless Congress got involved. So that all changed come 1930. Congress delegated task of tariffs to the President of the United States. So when you hear people out there in the world and they're out there saying, well, President, I just saw one on the talk show the other day. The president doesn't have the right or the authority to do tariffs, set tariffs without Congress's approval. If you hear that, it's dead wrong. It's wrong, incorrect, like really wrong. It's the wrong premise. The president of the United States since 1930 has been given the right and the authority to
And
set
in
tariffs.
1930, the start of the Great Depression, we needed to find money
We
wherever we
did,
could
which I'm
find
going
it
to
because, wow.
exactly right. Uh, the thing about tariffs is that it is a federal issue. No state still can set tariffs on its whatever it wants. So there's no state authority involved in tariffs. It's strictly from a national federal perspective. In 1789, which is when this all began, uh, Congress created tariffs so as to pay down the debt that we had as a country. So it made sense. So the founding fathers, or the first Congress, which aren't the same as founding fathers, but they kind of were, they started this country, said, well, how are we going to generate revenue? How are we? They didn't think like like Congress does now. How are we going to screw the American people? They thought, how are we going to get money to support this country that we are in charge of managing? They said tariffs are the way to do it. And so that's how it all happened, or began back in 1789. So then you fast forward, tariffs quickly became the main source of the federal government's revenue until the Civil War, when Treasury notes and a wartime income tax supplemented, which is what you're talking about, the government's income. So uh, that's when this shift started taking place, and I rue the day that that started happening. Lincoln I don't think anybody back then who said, "Wait a minute, now tariffs took a beating during the Depression." That's when the tide, pardon the pun, started swinging from tariffs to income tax, because the government said, "How are we? If the Depression is resulting, and it was resulting in our ability to collect tariffs, uh, then how are we going to? What are we going to do?" It's like any household would say, "Well, wait a minute, mom and
Well,
dad aren't
the
generating any
depression
money."
didn't start from that. It was
Yeah,
part of
no,
a
no.
solution
Yeah,
for it. Yeah,
the Depression years created problems for tariffs being the only source of revenue for the country. And so those involved started saying, well, we got to figure out another way to do this. Um, and so that began the whole thought process to lead us to where we are today. In 1894, Congress passed an act which lowered tariff rates and established a permanent federal income tax. The so really, it doesn't contradict what I just said, because there's a second part to that. But back in 1894, Congress tried income tax, and the Supreme Court shut it down and said it was unconstitutional. Uh, so after 1896 is when tariffs started really becoming vibrant in the source we used to
so I
generate
guess what was that?
revenue.
I guess that must have been a constitutional amendment in
Yeah,
13. Yeah, I saw something, but it didn't
yeah. So
clarify
here you
that. Yeah,
go. So that
right,
that what I just said to you about Congress trying it in the late 1800s and the Supreme Court saying, no, that's unconstitutional, that that lasted up until 1913, when the ratification of the 16th Amendment, which reads, Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whichever source or whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. In other words, in 1913, the 16th Amendment became uh, enacted, implemented, whatever, which started this income tax issue that we now deal with as of today. So if you want to blame somebody for the income tax, go back to 1913 and you'll just look up who was in charge in 1913, and you can not necessarily the president, but Congress and others. That's who you want to point the finger at if you want to
right,
point the finger. All right, so 1913 is the key for when enough reliance on tariffs, according to those in charge, we're going to now start milking this via the American people. All right.
right, right. And those so many have become so bent out of shape about the whole thing that they make it sound as if Trump invented tariffs, and
Right.
they've been around for a long, long time. And if they weren't there, think about where your income taxes would be, because
Yeah.
we have to get the money from somewhere. And
That's a
the
very good point.
thing that he's doing is trying to level it out. And it, he put together these charts about what the tax tariff was in all these different countries, and it was way more than we were charging. All we're trying to do is
Yeah.
get our head above water,
Yeah. So on a local
or
level,
at water.
yeah. So any local level, local government says we've got to have enough retail business, commerce in our city so as to generate taxes from the retail base, or the uh, commerce base. The more we have of that, not that we want 100% of, I mean, if a city like Waxahachie said, well, we're only going to collect taxes from our business side, the economic side, of retail and industry and that sort of thing, then we'd have people complain now about how much growth we have.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the growth we would have if we said that's the only way we're going to collect taxes to run the city. We'd have businesses everywhere. The city has said, and most good cities say the same thing, is that we need to have a balance. We need to have a balance between the taxes that come from our business side of things and from like property taxes and that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing from the residents, the citizens of a city. There, where there's a good balance, that's a good city. Trump's simply trying to say, okay, we got to do the same thing as a country. We started with tariffs
Right.
exclusively. We get to a point where income tax was introduced that lessened the need for tariffs. Income tax then became the carrot for Congress. Said we're going to tax, 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 and here we are today. We don't we have such an imbalance in our tariff system, as you just said. Trump's saying we're going to get that right. He would do that anyway. That's what a businessman does. You and I,
Right.
when running a business, we don't say, well, okay, we're going to incur all the expense to produce what we produce, and
Right.
then we're going to give it away free. We
Right.
don't do that. We go out
Right.
of business. So Trump's just saying we would stop doing that. We would have tariffs no matter what. Trump's all, that isn't enough for a guy like Trump. Trump says, wait a minute, we're going to generate tariffs, up it like we used to, and then we're not just going to keep income taxes where they are because it's been unfair. It's been this total way for us to generate revenue for a country for since 1913. So, and it's gotten out of hand. So Trump is saying we're going to increase tariffs, we're going to lower the income tax. Uh, to some points, he's
Yeah.
even said, as you've heard him say, we're going to get rid of the income tax.
Right.
Right?
And uh, what I'm going to talk about here applies in Texas, but I'm sure it applies in most other states. In Texas, you can have a maximum sales tax of 8.25%, but it varies from county to county. And if you're
Yeah.
running a business, you have to have this huge table knowing where, if you're shipping something to a different county, what is their tax rate? And
Yeah, because you pay the tax for an item based on where you bought it.
so now what cities are doing, and the little ones can't do it so much, but the bigger cities, every cotton picking major stadium that's been built in the last 40 or so years, here's what they do. And it happened out here in Arlington
Yeah.
on all three of these stadiums. You got you get an Arlington tax referendum on what are the two things? Hotel and rent a car. And they're saying, Arlington residents, guess what? We're going to bring in the money. It's not going to cost you anything
Yeah.
because when do you stay in a hotel in your hometown? When do
Right.
you rent a car in your hometown? So the next time you rent a car or go to a hotel and you look at that bill, those taxes are off the
Yeah.
charts.
Yeah, they are off the charts, and you're
Unbelievable.
you're right about that. So
But it doesn't
so
hurt
here
us.
so that's a part of this tariff argument. This is
Yeah,
why I'm so pro tariff.
right.
Granted, we'll end up paying a little more for stuff, but if the idea that Trump has is to increase tariffs on every country that's doing business with us, every country, reciprocal, maybe there's I don't know if I'd say what the proper word isn't punitive, but maybe there are countries out there that have been milking us like they have. China's a good one, a good example, not a good country, but a good example of bilking us. Trump may have a bit of a punitive feel in there for a
Well,
tariff.
that's the one that he's going
Yeah,
above the level
right.
watermark.
Yeah, so Trump is using tariffs like the country initially used way back when. So let me just finish this real quick. The establishment of a federal income tax started the process of diminishing the need for tariffs as a primary federal government revenue source. It's kind of what we just said. Income tax revenue surpassed customs income, which is customs income is the tariffs on things coming into this country after World War I and through the 20s, but tariffs also remain on the books at high levels as a tool to protect American businesses, including farming. Farming. This is where the Depression comes along. The Great Depression led to a 40% decrease in United States exports and imports. So tariffs took a nosedive, like everything else, during the Depression years. The Supreme Court, I don't want to read that.
They
I've
took a
already said that.
nosedive because we weren't buying things to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was nothing
yeah,
really going on in the
right.
world, and so we started. It was when it rained, it poured, because tariffs, the depression was already bad enough, but the depression caused problems for the country as it relates to tariffs. So that gave more fuel for income tax to become even more prevalent, stronger, higher percentages, so on and so forth. The Trade Act of 1973. So let me fast forward to 1934. Congress passed the Reciprocal Trade Agreements Act, which gave, this is why I mentioned Roosevelt earlier, which gave Roosevelt the ability to change tariff rates by 50% and negotiate bilateral agreements without additional approval from Congress. So Roosevelt in 1934, after the Depression, was able to say, okay, I need to do something now with tariffs. It took a beating in the Depression. We're going to do something with tariffs now. It didn't take hold, but that was his idea. The Trade Act of 1973 gave proclamation powers to the president to change tariff barriers without congressional approval, which is exactly what we see Trump doing today. All right, so that law, that rule, whatever you want to call it, was put into place in 1973.
And
All right,
was President Roosevelt a Republican? I think he might have been a Democrat.
exactly. So, and the last thing I want to share with you on this is tariff revenues have seen an increase since the first Trump. This is important. Since the first Trump administration, which nearly doubled revenues from 37 billion to 74 billion. So tariffs wasn't that big of a deal in the first Trump 4 years, I don't think. I mean, there were other things that took
We didn't hear
precedent,
much
like
about it. No.
impeachments and others, but Trump took doubled doubled the revenue from tariffs in his 4 years without much hoopla. Biden comes along, and that 74 billion that Trump got it to, it was 37 billion, Trump got it to 74 billion. Biden, without doing much of anything other than just not changing it, that rose to 77 billion to uh, where it is now with the Biden administration. So Trump comes in and says, you know what? I'm going to make this a primary part of a focal point of my presidency, and this is what we're seeing happen. So there you have it. The idea is that Donald Trump is going to use tariffs just like those who use tariffs when at the origin of this country. And he's saying we are going to do it fairly, we're going to do it right, we're going to generate billions and billions and billions, and then through tariffs, and then I'm going to address the American people and say, now your taxes are going to go down. And I'm telling you, do not be surprised if Trump, before these 4 years is up, I don't know if he'll be successful. I pray he will, but will say no more income tax in America. Tariffs be the big kahuna that we get revenue from, and the other is user fees. So the only time you would pay a tax is like sales tax now. So if
Yeah,
I
why
want
do
to,
you keep calling that user fees?
that's what.
It's a sales tax.
Well, it is a sales tax, but you don't call that when you go on a toll road, do you? When you go on
No,
a toll road, what do
right.
you call it? A user
Toll. You
fee.
call it
Yeah.
a toll. Yeah.
So it's a used fee, sales tax, user
And
fee, sales.
wasn't this a Bernie Sanders platform for a long time?
It might have been. I can't listen
I
to.
mean,
I can't.
people on and off have proposed the national
Yeah.
sales tax.
So yeah, they have. Cruz has done it as well. But I think Trump's going to say tariffs, sales tax slash user fees, no income tax. And if for an American citizen who cares about this stuff passionately, I believe that's a winning approach.
Right. Now, regardless of where the money comes from, regardless of where the money comes from,
Hmm.
you know, reducing the spending is the other half of the
Yeah.
equation. People are always talking about I need more money to balance my budget. Well, if you spent less, that would help balance your budget too.
Yeah.
So that the revenue side, we can talk all day on where it comes from,
But spending, yeah.
but taking care of the waste, and which was Doge was all about, and that's the other side of the
Yeah,
sword.
I agree. Chuck is right. I mean, the reason for a guy like Trump, and JD Vance has some business experience in his background as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think every president in the United States, America will be far better off if we hired men and or women who had a mix between business acumen and running a successful company and knowing how to govern. We have had for decades, centuries, we have had presidents who people like, I mean, Elizabeth Warren isn't a president, but name anybody out there. They wouldn't know how to write up. They don't even know how to spell payroll. They wouldn't know what it means to have a balanced budget in a business. They don't know what it means to not miss a payroll. They don't know what it means to deal with spending issues. Look, the old saying is that becoming wealthy is not a revenue getting revenue. That's not the right way to say it, but whatever the word is. But it's not about what you get; it's what you spend that
Right.
makes people wealthy
And
or don't spend.
I'm racing through my head trying to think of all the presidents I can think of, and the only person I can think of that became president that never held a political office was Donald Trump, other than George Washington, who came out of being
Yeah,
a general in the army. I
yeah.
don't think there's ever been another one,
Yeah, so the
ever.
point, yeah, so yeah, the point is that most presidents, most people in Congress, I mean, look at these people, and you say, do you? I was on the phone with a person in Tulsa this morning, and we were talking about Jasmine Crockett, and what is how is it that Jasmine Crockett has anything to do with any law in this country? Granted, we're a free country. People can run and can do, hold office, whatever, but you got to have some experience. And for us for half of America or a little less than half of America to reject the approach and the strategies and the ideas from a man like Donald Trump is a bit of economic suicide, in
Right.
my opinion. And I agree with you, Chuck. And hey, Terry, glad you're here, bud. Yeah, no reason to be sorry. Just glad you're here. So there you have it on tariffs. So when you hear tariffs, at least you know a little bit more. Income tax, the tariffs were our central source of revenue from the late 1700s until 1913. 1913, that shifted to income tax because of income tax that were initiated in 1913. Along comes the Depression. The Depression has a big impact on tariffs, bad impact on tariffs. Income tax become more prevalent. That continues on and on and on through the years. Tariffs go away insofar as we pay tariffs, but we weren't collecting tariffs. So
That's bad math.
almost all the revenue is coming from taxes,
Yep.
and Trump's trying to rectify that. So you go, Trump. More power to you. All right. Did I catch all those, Sam? Thank you, Isaac. We're trying to just know what we're talking about. You know what I mean? All right. So you got your random thoughts for
I
today,
got my
bud?
5 random
All
thoughts.
right, let's hear them.
Silence is
Golden.
golden. There is but one God, and you are not it. I never was much of a student, I must confess. Vacations are great, but there's nothing like getting back home.
Yep.
And if you see a cardinal flying out of your hibiscus bush and you're gone for 7 or 10 days and you come back,
And there's a family of them.
there's a nest. Came back and saw the nest with 3 eggs in it yesterday when I came
Nice.
back. And then Rita went out. I slept in a couple of minutes later, and Rita, and she told me she went out to get the paper and she
It
came and
hatched.
she saw two hatched. And I went and we see three
Did
little
you take
ones.
pictures?
Yeah, but we don't want to
Yeah.
destroy the integrity of the
Yeah.
whole
We
deal.
don't want your Cardinals
And
thinking of
and and and
paparazzi
Rita
that
and
way.
I have had a bad history of any time we have anything nesting in our wherever we live, going back to even before we were married, a little apartment I had, second floor balcony, we had this, and
Yeah.
we
That's awesome, isn't it? When you
so
said
so so
Cardinal,
so we're praying that these live. And Rita, by the way, um, let's let's
Rita's
th-
Jeff's wife.
let's think of 3 names. If we name these, maybe we'll have a better chance of them living. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, name them.
Yeah, there
Charlie,
you
Moe,
go.
and Larry.
There's
You
my.
know, when you said, given the
That's what
context,
that's what I was thinking.
yeah, when you said in the context of the Pope, when you said Cardinal coming out of your shrubs, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, did he have on his, robe and all that
Well,
stuff?
Cardinals red. Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
well, they say when you see a cardinal in your life that it's an angel of somebody that's gone before you.
Okay.
Yeah, so cardinals are beautiful, beautiful
Yeah,
animals.
love them.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate that, bud. All right. So in our he said segment today, the idea, and we'll make this brief because we didn't ramble, but we got into the tariffs, didn't we? Uh,
Rightfully so.
so do you believe, and Sammy, you can weigh in on too, is Sammy will be 21 in 2 months. Uh, so there we have the younger generation, and I am a young baby boomer. You are kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Uh, do you believe it's important for a media company or for there to be op-eds?
Well, the most important part about op-eds is to delineate opinions from news. And I've read that my poem about the paper a few times and about um, what George Dealey said about the
Yeah,
obligation of every newspaper to give the readers both sides of the story.
right.
We want that. And guess what? We're not getting that. We got every level of media has two different viewpoints. And I will tell you this, if you listen to all 60 of our episodes, you would say we probably lean toward the conservative. Not probably, we do. But guess what? We're not pretending or portending to be a
Yeah,
newspaper. This is a place for yucks and opinions, both of them.
yeah,
Uh,
true.
and so
I'm trying to find there was a great, I've said it to you before, but there was a great example of what an opinion is, fact is, that sort of thing, or where opinions,
well, you know what they say about opinions?
everybody has
They're
one.
just like rear ends.
Well,
Everybody
yeah.
has one.
And so the idea, the thing about opinions, whether in this case op-eds, um, I don't know about most columnists or any other columnist, really, but I don't write something or about something unless I have studied it.
Right.
Now I can wing about 1,000 words in a
R-
split second. If you
Right.
say, "What do you think about, a knuckleball?" I can go on for 1,000 words, but I don't know. I got to study more about what I'm advocating.
Yeah.
So if I don't, then I'm bloviating is what I'm doing. So
So
the idea is to have opinions that are based on fact.
right.
And somebody will say, I see people say, "Well, you're wrong." Well, opinions are never wrong. If you think about it, fundamentally,
Because it's
and
yours.
it's an opinion is never wrong.
Right.
If you're stating your opinion as a fact, then you can be wrong, but opinions are based on what should be facts.
Right.
So it drives me crazy when I hear that.
That's
But
the essence of it right there.
yeah, so in this show, again, as you just saw with tariffs, we want to be able to say, well, this is what we believe, but this is why we believe it. And had we not, we could wing it with tariffs. We could wing it, as I just said, on anything, but
Yeah.
we could wing it on tariffs. But we want to take the time to say, this is why. And if
Right.
you understand it, that's like when I wrote a column about Trump, understanding Trump's psyche as to why he does everything he does. It still may drive you crazy knowing, uh, given what he does. But if you come to understand why he does what he does, like talking about running for a third term or making Canada the 51st state, why he does those things, it then becomes less of a train wreck that you're watching and more of a fascination with, wait a minute, this guy's got a purpose
Hmm.
for what he's doing. That's what fascinates me about Trump. If you compare that to an Obama or you compare that to a George Bush, who I'm not a big fan of, or to a Biden, particularly with Obama and Biden, but use Obama as an example. I don't think Obama had a strategy other than about himself and about about in my opinion, it's my opinion, based on what I observed and what I know, I believe a guy like Obama wanted to create strife in this country, much the same way that third parties were used way back when to create problems between employees and management. If you have conflict between employees and management, then you have a need for a union. So the
Hmm.
unions wanted to keep that going. I thought a guy like Obama was, let's create this issue of race. I'm black and thought to be, well, I'll
Half.
make it better, half black, but I'm going to make race relations better in America. Obama ultimately said, if we can get people at each other, class warfare, then they're going to be relying on government. That's what I think happened. So I don't think, I think Obama, nothing like a Trump. Trump has a method to his madness every time. James says, What stuff will stuff change now because the Pope is an American? We haven't seen that. So,
Oh, I did not know.
uh,
Boy, I want to
is it,
find out
is
where.
it, hey, James, can you tell us, Sammy, just look up new Pope. It may be, Dolan, out of New York or Washington. I believe it's New York. Sammy can you check real quick? James Dolan, or maybe how you spell last name?
Prevost.
Where's he from? Does it say? What
The
diocese?
This is the first thing I saw. The Catholic Church has elected Cardinal Robert Prevost as Pope.
Prevost, probably.
Leo the 14th. I like the
Wow.
name. I love the
Yeah. So
name.
James, will stuff
Grandpa
change
Leo
now because the
Lynch.
Pope is? I don't know if it'll change. I think the popes have traditionally been, well, they're required to be all about the Catholic faith.
Hmm.
So I don't know if there's much leeway. New Pope. Thank
Chicago.
you, Brian.
Yeah.
Chicago. So we'll see. That's exciting.
Do you know
I'm
Brian Dennis?
No, I don't think so.
Brian, you've had 3 or 4 comments here. We're
Yeah.
glad to have
Thank
you
you, Brian, for
chirping
being
in.
here. James too, and of course our regulars. That's exciting news. So I don't know how it will change. I'm not a Catholic. I've got plenty of friends that are. Jeff's Catholic, and but I don't know how. We'll see. We'll see what happens. How old is he? Did it say, Sam? See how old he is.
Oh, you know what? When they were giving some candidates, I think that he's the one that they said he may not be successful because he's 60 and they feel that's too young because they don't want somebody to be able to have a long tenure. Well, I don't know
Are
what's
popes for life? Is that how it works? Yeah,
just like Supreme Court Justice. 69.
69.
Okay, maybe.
So okay. Very good. Thank you all for filling us in as the show is going on. All
That's
right.
live. That's live
So
news breaking.
as
And
we
that's not opinion.
No, that's not. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, Jeff, again, Jeff is I call him a Texas poet, but Jeff writes about everything and has several books published of poetry. He will be writing an opinion poem, which is a new phrase. We're giving it that phrase, that label,
Hmm.
but it's an opinion poem. So, it won't be meant to, it's not roses are red, violets are blue. It's why they're red and why they're blue kind of thing. That will start next week, and you'll see it in our newsletter on Substack. So we do Jeff reads a poem, a different poem. Well, I don't know. Will you?
I think
Yeah. Jeff, you'll read a
I'm
different
writing.
poem in our shows.
I found I just finished up the one that I had to get in time
Yeah,
for
for
the
Monday.
Monday, and I found it a unique challenge to write about that topic, but it did. I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't do it, and it's what I tell the kids that I teach in my grade school poetry class. You can write a poem about anything you want, whenever you want, if you want.
Yeah,
Okay, every poem I got
you had a
74 poems
desire to
in this
write it.
book, and 4 of them are about hockey, and the
Yeah,
other are about 70 different
yeah,
topics. It's
yeah.
whatever comes
That's
up.
extraordinary poet. So one of the things I want before we forget, we will be also when you get our newsletter on Mondays and Fridays, you will get an audio version of our column. So I'll be reading my column. We're going to be doing that for Monday this afternoon, and Jeff will be reading his poem. So that will be in our uh, our newsletter on Substack. Uh, so just FYI. All right,
I'm glad we
poem
don't
time.
have much time because this is a short poem, and the last line, uh, when I reread it, it kind of touched me because it reminded me of what's happened in my life in terms of people passing
Yeah,
of late. And it's called Sir. And it goes something like this. I'm hearing Sir a lot. Sure hope it's not a plot. Guess it's okay because yesterday became today. I was often called lad by my late great loving dad. The trip from lad to sir is quite a tale for sure. Little kid, big kid, forever a kid? No, I don't kid. Yes, sir is what I hear more each passing year. But I kind of like the sound beats being buried underground. Rest in peace, Dan Hurley. Rest in peace, Chip Dugan. Rest, Tommy Sopkowitz. You got days
your
left.
buddies. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
And,
the funeral you went to last week, which one was that?
Dan Hurley was
Dan Hurley.
63. Chip Dugan was my
63.
age.
Yeah.
And I got another guy, 69, is hanging by a from.
The thing about that age, people dying, or when I and others I know do the same thing, but when I might be feeling a little old, I
Mhm.
say, well, if I dropped over tomorrow, would the first phrase be upon learning my age, oh, he was so young or too young for that?
Right.
63 is still too young. I would even argue 69 is still too, yeah, anything in the 60s. When you get into the 70s, people start saying, well,
He had a good run.
yeah,
He
exactly.
led a good life. We get to the 80s, he had a good run.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
all right, we end our show, every show, with two things. We do a day in history in which Sammy, Jeff, and I participate, and a lot of our viewers participate. And you can do that. We do this because we enjoy learning as much as possible. Sam, it's been great watching Sammy as a young man. As we know, they don't teach history in high school anymore. So we get to watch Sammy grow, but we learn
He
things
has
too.
greatly grown too.
So we do this little contest with our day in history, and Jeff, I don't know what the word, it tests us. So let's go for it. See what
After I
happens.
take the test this
Yeah,
morning
Jeff
with my
takes it every
wife, I
morning.
was 5 and 3. Remember, you can have 7 either side of the age.
Yep.
If you hit the age on the money, you get the bonus. And for certain facts, we give a bonus also. And we do have one fact today. And here we go.
All right, let's go.
Spanish explorer Fernando de Soto reached the Mississippi River, the first recorded European to do so.
1918.
1780.
1541.
Oh, Sammy missed it by that much.
I thought it was closer to Columbus, but there
Yeah.
you go. U.S. forces led by General Zachary Taylor defeated Mexico forces near modern-day Brownsville in the first major battle of the Mexican-American War.
Oh, I should know this. Sammy's waiting for me to say something.
1764.
That was before our country started.
1890. 1890.
1846.
Well, at least I was in the same century.
The first serving of Coca-Cola, which contained cocaine, was sold at a pharmacy in blank. What city?
Peoria, Illinois.
Chicago.
They're still headquartered there.
Oh.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
The drink became cocaine free in 1929. But we want to know,
We wanna know
when Coca-Cola started.
1910.
1911.
My son cheats off me.
1886.
Man,
Okay.
I'm 0 for 3.
Yeah.
President
Look at
Harry
Terry and
S.
Chuck going to
and,
Chuck's
Chuck's
and-
doing good.
and I got
Chuck's
the
doing good.
bonus there, but I missed the year. Here we go. President Harry S. Truman announced in a radio address that Nazi Germany's forces had surrendered.
1954.
1949.
He had dyslexia in 1945.
Oh, I missed it
Oh, I
again.
got it. Okay.
I'm 0 for 4.
There's one.
Members of the American Indian movement in the Oglala Lakota tribe, who had occupied the South Dakota hamlet of Wounded Knee for 10 weeks, surrendered to federal authorities.
Terry says Chicago too. That's what I was thinking.
1973.
1989.
The bonus was in effect for you.
Did I get it?
You got it.
Oh, I
Right
thought you
here.
were talking about
Nice
me,
job.
Jeffrey.
Booyah.
Gosh dang it.
David R. Berkowitz.
Yeah.
pleaded
Son of
guil-
Sam.
I'm sorry that wasn't a
That's
bonus.
wrong. That should be wrong.
Really determines these.
That was his name, Sammy. He's a killer.
Was pleaded guilty in Brooklyn courtroom to murder, attempted murder, and assault in connection with the Son of Sam shootings that claimed 6 lives and terrified New Yorkers.
1984.
1995.
How do you know?
Did I get another one?
No, 78.
Oh, but I was in the range. I'm coming back. Call me Raskin or Rast, whatever his name is.
Right? I don't know.
All right.
Miko.
Miko.
Rankin. U.S. The final one. U.S.
Chuck did good.
unemployment
Terry, too.
surged to 14.7, a level last seen during the Great Depression. The government reported that more than 20 million Americans had lost their jobs in April amid the economic fallout from the coronavirus pandemic.
2021.
2022.
I guess 21. It was in 2020.
Ah.
Oh.
You know, that thing really
Dang.
broke loose in
Yeah.
March, and to all those things happening by May, yikes.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
That
Well,
was
I came
bad.
back 4 for 4. What were you saying?
I got 2 right. So
All righty. So the last part of our show, we have a feel, since we're called Grit and Good News, we give you a lot of grit, but
Good
we
job,
want to
Chuck.
end. Good job, Chuck. We want to end the show with a little bit of good news. So I'm going to show you this video. Sammy, get ready. A video. This is remarkable, and it's kind of, we choose these because this like you can go away feeling like some good about people. And this one, I think when you see it, it's harrowing, but you'll see it. All right, Sammy,
Here we
go.
go.
Extraordinary Rescue, America Strong. Tonight in St. Paul, Minnesota, Interstate 94, the incredible rescue, now seen by millions. One stranger after another pulling over during rush hour, all to help a man in an SUV that was on fire. The doors to the SUV stuck against the guardrail. You see them all pulled together trying to pry the doors open.
Look at that.
Then a member of Minnesota's Department of Transportation smashing the driver's side window, directing the passenger to crawl out feet first. Right here tonight, some of the strangers who answered the call. Kadir Tola.
Everybody was risking their life, but thank God that we succeed.
And Tessa Sand.
If strangers had not come together, I don't think he would still be here today.
Tonight, the man who they rescued, 71-year-old Sam Urbovich, is home from the hospital and doing well, saying, "I'm alive today because Good Samaritans saved my life. I look forward to thanking them all in person."
There you go. I hope everybody watching this show, certainly those of us in the studio, we would do the same thing.
Right.
All right, so there you have it. We will be back on what's today? Thursday. Next Tuesday. Remember, go to Substack, search for Grit and Good News, hit subscribe, and you will get this content and a lot of other content. We are very excited about that and can only do it based on your support.
That was
Sammy?
a pretty good race, Chuck. Miami Grand
Oh.
Prix. Yeah.
That's where Sammy's guy came in. He always comes in like 12th or
Well,
16th or
Chuck,
something.
my favorite driver is Nico Hulkenberg, and my dad doesn't understand that he has a horrible car. But anyways, yeah, Max had a rough race. But
Detour. How do
Detour.
I point at Sammy? He's taking a detour.
And we got a new close to the show, and it was inspired by hearing a tremendous, I won't call it a eulogy. It was just both of this guy's daughters, Dan Hurley's daughters, had nice comments. And when I heard that this is how Dan would routinely say goodbye to anybody, he said, "Make it a great day and put a smile on someone's face."
See ya.